Hello, welcome to Prerona Television Canada. On behalf of Global Academy of Holistic Leadership and Coaching, we are very happy that we are continuing our leadership speaker series. And today is our episode 59. And today's our topic is leadership and mentoring. And as usual, our regular trainer and speaker, Advocate Jiaur Rahman, is with us. And he is the CEO of IITM and adjunct faculty of Independent University. I now welcome Advocate Jiaur Rahman to continue his presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Just give me a second. Let me bring out my presentation. I think you can see it now. Okay.
Yes,
yes. Okay. Today's session is on leadership and mentoring. And we have been having this session for quite some time. And today we have designed it in a particular way where I would speak on leadership and mentoring for a while. And then since Edward Probimondol is a subject matter specialist on mentoring and SME mentoring, he will come in towards the end and elaborate further along a particular line that he has been consulting on. So thank you very much. Moving forward, normally I start off with some quotations. Today's quotation is by John Maxwell. He says, "The pessimist complains about the wind, the optimist expects it to change, the leader adjusts the sail." So ideally, no situation is appropriate or no situation is conducive for a leader. A leader has to navigate through very difficult and turbulent economic and social or financial conditions at times. No two organizations are the same, and no two organizations will have the same strategy. That we know for a fact. What is important here is to keep the motivation up for a leader. What is important is to keep the team members driven even in the middle of chaos and a lot of destructive situation in the market. For example, in the last 1.5 years, many organizations had to really refigure its own business model, because the old business model just didn't work. The old business model could not work because of the sanctions by the government, because of the health sanctions, etc. So you had to really reorient your business. You have to really find your new space in the business climate. So a leader is always someone who has to tinker with small issues and sometimes work on issues which are extremely important and vital, where they have to make dramatic changes as well. So you have to be not only a person with optimism, you can't be a person at all who is focusing on complaints and failure issues all the time. So a leader has to be a person with a positive mindset who's always out there thinking the idea that we have to move forward, and what is it that we need to do in order to get to the position which we have assessed that we should be going forward. So in a documentation kind of environment where you are planning for your future, an optimist, a leader must push forward with some strategies that will allow that person to really move in that particular direction and get the outcome readied. Whereas if somebody is a pessimist, that person will find all the faults in the journey and try to reduce their mental capacity and reduce the organizational motivation, and also will reduce his or her own particular motivation. So we can't be in those type of situations. So moving forward, this is by Sean Hitchcock. A mentor empowers a person to see a possible future and believe it can be done. So this is where the idea of a mentor comes in. A mentor is someone who's out there trying to guide you, trying to give you some suggestions, trying to suggest some ways forward for you as a mentee. The mentor normally has more experience. Normally, there are concepts of reverse mentoring as well, but today we are focusing on the concept of a person with more experience and life's understanding, guiding you as someone who's junior to you as a mentee. So what the mentor is trying to do onto the mentee is to recalibrate his or her journey. For example, I might have gone through the same path 5 years back, and I know what were the pitfalls. I know what are the areas which went wrong, or which areas which should not be treaded because it is going to hit a dead end. So if I have that sizable knowledge uh, and wisdom with me, I can actually guide someone forward. So that's the whole idea of a mentor. Mentor is out there offering possible options, possible future, but at the same time, nourish the mind and motivate the human spirit so that he or she who is your mentee feels that, yes, I am equipped to go and do that part, and I'm equipped to take this difficult journey, but I know it is doable because I have a very solid person to back me up in terms of information, in terms of some ideas, in terms of mental spirit guidance, etc. So the whole issue of mentor mentee process is to give the mentee, the person who is coming to you for guidance, that's the person who is a mentee, the opportunity to grow, given a lot of different components that will be placed in front of that person. So that person will automatically feel more confident because many of the issues have been analytically placed in front of the person, and what may wrong, what could go right, etc., and what should be a potential area to grow. While saying this, one should never push a mentee to feel that my way is the right way and you are a younger person. You probably do not know what's going on. And so listen to the way I direct you. At that point, you don't turn into a mentee, you turn into a person who is truly demanding his mind, truly demanding his total perspective. And that is not a proper strategy. You have to keep the platter open for that person to also feel and believe in his or her own journey, and also have his or her own uniqueness in this journey. You can be a guide, but you can be someone who's pushing that person in a particular path. That is not the job of a mentor. So we have to be careful as to understand where we draw the line between my guidance and my direction. I can be a guide, but I can't be a 100% direction setter for that person. Moving forward, this is another famous person, Steven Spielberg. You have seen many of his movies, the 80s and 90s, and all the Star Wars and all those movies were done by George Lucas and Steven Spielberg, and Jaws and etc. He's like a serious person in the movie industry, creating a unique space and also guiding people to movie heights. So anyway, he says the delicate balance of mentoring someone is not creating them in your own image, but giving them the opportunity to create themselves. This is exactly what I was talking about in my previous slide. You guide them so that they don't grow up in your own image, but they grow up with their own mindset, with an understanding of all the opportunities or all the pitfalls ahead of you. So You don't want someone to be a replica of who you are. That's not the whole idea of mentee. A father does not want his son or daughter to be a 100% replica of who the father was, because two people are definitely not the same. So, but the father or the leader of the house would want someone to find themselves in this unique and turbulent environment by which they themselves become an evolved citizen. They themselves become a leader in their own rights, having their own set of understanding of this situation, having their own set of analytical mind frame, and having their own particular journey, which may not be the same as their father or their previous leader had done. So, as a professional, our job is as a mentee is to gather information, gather some insight from the mentor, get some views from that mentor. Oftentimes, ask them for guidance and direction. That is okay, but you as a mentee, you have to also look at your set of circumstances, the people around whom you are developing your model. Like, could be leadership model, could be a business model, could be a market strategy model, could be a political philosophy, and sharing your political wisdom and mindset. You're getting all of that organized around you by looking at and learning from somebody else or a few people. Normally, you will not have many mentors. You will probably have a few mentors. Maybe a mentor might be guiding you in your academics. A mentor might be guiding you in your professional and academic environment. A mentor may be guiding you in gaining your wisdom and knowledge in a particular direction. For example, a professional, let's say you are a doctor, you are a young doctor in a busy hospital. You may want to find one particular mentor who's under whose tutelage, under whose guidance you can start developing your own particular way of the way of a doctor, and get to do all the operations following this person, not necessarily totally imitating, but getting a lot of understanding from how the procedures are done. And then you have your own knowledge, and you're looking at other people's understanding of that particular issue and the practice itself, and then going about with your own dimension as well into the process. Obviously, when we are talking about medical science or very particular science, you really don't have much leeway. You have to follow a particular style and a structure. But when you're using this perspective of mentoring in your leadership journey, in your personal self-development and your growth as a professional, you will have a lot more avenue to actually test your learning, test your mindset amongst the people and your colleagues. So as we say in English, no one size does not fit all circumstances. So keep that in your at the back of your mind, that whatever you're learning, it may not be appropriate in all circumstances. You have to alter them, synthesize them, recalibrate your perspective, and then move forward. So moving forward, the whole point of the quotation by Steven Spielberg is to give you the feel that you don't want someone to build up in your own image, but you want someone to be trained in the understanding that there are many opportunities that that person can actually take, and allow the process to be there, allow the overall environment and the ambience to be there, so that they can create themselves in a unique and dynamic way to become a successful leader or a successful professional in his or her field. Moving forward, this is by Abhishek Shukla. This is a very interesting quote in terms of a mathematical equation. This person is suggesting, what is success? Success is passion with a particular direction. We call it vision, the knowledge base, the skills, the capacity to get your vision to work. And then somebody who's out there mentoring you, guiding you, giving you all the perspectives of what needs to be done. So a mentor may be from your field, a mentor may not be from your field. Mentoring can take place in a subject matter area. Mentoring can take place in terms of your behavioral perspective. For example, there are people who get stressed quite easily because they grew up in an environment where stress was their middle name. So they have sort of captured the essence of stress in any environment. So they don't really know that even in certain situations, how to control your stress level. So they might go and find someone who can guide them in their behavior adjustments to stress, how to be less stress free, what could be done for you so that you are not bogged down with a lot of negative energy, because stress creates a lot of negative energy. So this person can actually go to a mentor coming from a absolutely different vocation, but who has a very good grip on stress management. So that person can be your mentor in an area where you are deficient, but that person may not be your mentor in your subject matter area. Maybe you are an accountant. So for accounting purpose, you are looking for mentors who are highly professionals and who have developed themselves at an appropriate level from whom you can learn. That person would be going to maybe two different mentors, one in your behavioral context to someone who will help that person to navigate through difficult journeys in life and how to reduce stress. And the other person might be a purely subject matter specialist who may give you some professional tips of how to handle clients and everything, but their person's focus would be on the subject matter. So this combination of having a strong passion in what you do, combined with a particular direction, combined with the direction, focusing on the vision for the future or the vision that you have set up for your own personal self or your organization, and combined with your skills, supported by this entire mentoring process, will ultimately give you the results that you're looking for in life. So moving forward, if we are thinking of success, we should be thinking of combining the spirit of vision, passion, skills, and ultimately mentoring. Normally, I have my own quotations. So today's quotations on leadership is: leadership evolves by the constant process of mentoring and guiding. We truly feel that a person becomes a true leader when that person can engage in a very constructive dialogue and guidance for the juniors in the affairs of how he or she needs to grow his temperament, his or her behavior, mindset, way to look for opportunities, how to look for opportunities, what are the meandering paths through which, if that person walks, what would be the potential feedback, etc. So what are the so to speak hidden points in your life that may come about that the mentor has gone through and found out at a very high cost? If you can tell your mentee that these would be the issue in your life, and if you follow that route, there is every possibility of you failing, and the timeline would be very costly for you. So you should not go in that direction. For example, I'll just give you an example. You are planning to introduce a new product in your market, and you have done a little bit of analysis yourself. but indirect mentoring can take place from looking at the case based scenarios that had happened regarding products which are similar to your product in the market. And if you can have a discussion with other competitors or other leaders who are maybe within your organization or outside your organization who has walked the talk before with regards to your particular product line or service that you're planning to roll out, that would be giving you a very strong direction as to how to move with regards to the service offering or product offering uh, that you're planning to roll out. You will know exactly what to do and what not to do. You may tinker with new ideas, but you will know how far out you should be tinkering. Having said this, there is also the issue of uh, going out and daring, doing the taking a dare to do new things in life. Just because somebody has not done something before, and if that mentor is telling you that don't go in that route because the chance of failure is high, but that person has not given you a logical, constructive viewpoint, you can dare and do things which are being told not to do, because the merit behind the statement was not supported with logic. In those cases, you can overcome the views of a mentor. As I mentioned previously, you don't want to follow word for word what your mentor is doing, because if that is taking place, then you're just copying the image of what the mentor is doing and trying to follow through in the market. Whereas the market has evolved over the last 2 or 5 years, and the mentor is coming to you with a perspective, with a mindset which is 3 to 5 years old, whereas the economy, whereas the business models and the market temperament has changed. So you have to be careful as to what level of guidance you will be taking, up to what depth of guidance that you will incorporate in your mindset, in your thought process, etc. So leadership is this journey of knowing where to draw the line of complete followership and mentoring. Uh, Complete followership may not be the right path. It may be a right path at certain points if your leader is absolutely brilliant and you know that just replicating or following his or her views would result in the outcome that you had planned for, and even furthermore, then you can follow that person as best as possible. But not every person can be followed to the dot. So you will have to find spaces where you will navigate into a slightly different territory with your own understanding, with your own knowledge space, and own understanding of the economy and the market. That is something that you will have to do every now and then. But the the law, the Pareto optimum efficient law, saying that the 80-20 rule, if you have a good leader, follow that leader 80% of the time and use your own mindset 20% of the time, unless and until you actually grow yourself into becoming a particular leader in that particular domain. At that point, you will have your own charted out journey where no one has gone before, and you have attained a particular standard and a structure you can develop yourself. So in those type of situations, the mentorship will slowly be less important. You can do a reverse mentoring at that point. What is reverse mentoring? Is you learn from the juniors. For example, in a highly technical field, mentorship can be both ways. You learn from the juniors, because the juniors have very technical knowledge of the latest outcomes and latest issues that are coming out in the technology space that you may not know. You have the wisdom, so you share the wisdom, they share the technical expertise, and then you have this notion of reverse mentoring. We will have specific sessions on reverse mentoring in future. So moving forward, effective mentoring, what is at play here? How do you know you are doing mentoring at an appropriate level? These are commonsensical perspectives, so I'll just go through them fairly quickly. You have to be in the present and understand what is at stake. If you don't know where you are, what is your current predicament, what type of positioning you are under, and what are the other vital issues at stake which can unsettle you as a business or unsettle you as a leader in your position. You need to have a very good feel for that perspective, and that's when you can actually do a proper mentoring. Otherwise you will be sliding back and forth, not knowing exactly which direction to take, how to guide people, etc. Communicate to build confidence. A good mentor has to have good confidence with his or her mentee. If the mentees do not feel confident around you, then you will not be a good mentor. Know when to direct and when to take softer tone. Sometimes you have to be fairly stern, fairly focused, saying that, look, this is what I had done, and this is the journey that you need to take in, unless you want to hit some hard obstacles. Don't go in that route. I know this for sure. Take a sterner viewpoint at certain times, but at certain times where you know the territories are not very clear, you have some idea but you don't have a very significant idea, you can be a little softer and saying that, look, these are the potential obstacle areas. If you go through these paths, there, be sure to be sure to know that obstacles might hit you, and you have to immediately come up with another strategy to navigate yourself out of harm's length and proceed with the journey in which you are moving forward. So you have to take a slightly different tone at that point. Allow to build interest through sharing ideas. A mentor is sharing ideas, sharing perspectives, talking about ways forward, but the mentee has to pick ideas from that person. For example, when we go for business consulting, as a business consultant myself, there are companies who come up with some ideas and then they share some ideas with me, and then I do some analysis of the market, and I come back and say to these people, like, look, this, if you move in these directions, these are the potential pitfalls, but if you take on these areas and navigate slightly differently through this route, then the opportunity might be accelerated. So it is up to you now to decide which direction for you to move. So my ideas combined with the ideas of the entrepreneur who is getting my viewpoint may give a slightly altered and slightly better output. Not necessarily always, but maybe 80% of the time, this is the fact. So sharing ideas, gaining ideas from people, from the mentor, is absolutely vital. And if you can share these ideas appropriately, then your mentor-mentee process is working out nicely. Discuss opportunities and scope. This is in line with the previous one. Opportunities and scopes should be properly addressed, properly understood, properly discussed, not just from a cosmetic point of view that, oh, if you do this, something remarkable will come about. No, you have to go deeper into an analytical framework of really doing a cost benefit assessment and then deciding which direction and which scopes to undertake. This is important for effective mentoring. And then last but not the least, as we talked about in the second point, build confidence. This goes with it. You are not only building confidence in that person, you're sharing your hope, you're sharing your own confidence as a mentor into the mentoring process. So this are the areas where if mentoring will survive effectively, and the mentee will actually gain sizable perspective to move forward in his or her journey. Moving forward, mentoring with empathy. This is another area that, for example, you have been a very prominent business person, and you, everything that you do has been fairly successful. That does not mean that the other person getting into the same vocation or same type of and business environment will be successful. Circumstances might be slightly different. Knowledge base could be different. Mindset could be different. So you have to have a feeling of knowing that person quite well before you do a mentoring to that person. You can't be doing mentoring with your own mindset, thinking that this is who I am, this is how I feel, and this is the way I take, and therefore, since my business became successful, or my opportunity was came out very came out as efficient and productive, you need to follow this. No, you have to be in that person's shoes. If you are in that person's shoes, you will know who that person is, and then prepare a navigation path for that person to actually move forward. It might be equal to yours, it might be much lower in strength to yours, it might be even much more deeper than yours. If you're coming across someone who's absolutely remarkable as a human being, who has a tremendous potential and quality, obviously you will not be mentoring this person in the same spirit as someone who is of average standard. You will definitely put in a lot more energy, lot more perspective into the mind of this person, because this person has the capacity to absorb. So you have to be empathetic, you have to be sensitive, understanding, and you have to be logical as to what the level of strength this person holds, and create appropriate strategies for this person. Guide but not enforce. As we mentioned, this is very important. Where will you draw the line where you will feel that you're not pushing that person? You will not be giving that person a feeling that I, as a mentee, I have no viewpoint in this entire process. I've been guiding. I've been guided by this senior person. My thoughts did not resonate well in this business process. So the ownership of the process will be sort of frayed. It will feel inadequate. The mentee will feel inadequate spiritually. So you don't want to be in those type of situations. You want to be a guide, a mentor, but you don't want to be an enforcer, a director. Encourage but never undermine. You encourage people, but you can't say that, oh, you won't be able to do this because you didn't do this last week. I told you. You're undermining the spirit. You're undermining his or her capacity. If you're doing this regularly, then you're actually drawing down on his or her motivation, and that person's energy will come down. Negative stress will flow in that person. That person will not feel comfortable to share new ideas and views, because you might be making a slanting remark and you will undermine his or her capacity. So you don't want to do that. You have to be encouraging, but also giving them the ropes of what could be avenues for possibilities, and what could be avenues where they might go and fall into a pit. Next one is build ambience for open communication. Yes, if you are a fair person, a logical person, if you're understanding, then the ambience, the environment for effective communication will take place. So if you stress on being open in terms of your discussion with your mentor and mentoring process, then the other person may have done something incorrect, may have not done what you had suggested them to do, and they have failed, and they have come back for some additional guidance. So if you can create an ambience where the fear is not there, and also a proper effective communication is there, then you are in the right direction in the mentoring process. So elements of fear should be removed from the environment, from the conversations, from the overall ambience of the mentoring process. So when you are mentoring with empathy and thinking in their own terms, in the mentee's terms, you will probably gain a better feel for the process, and you will be better able to navigate into a safer shore for these people. So moving forward, human excellence and mentoring. Mentoring deals with excellence. If you're a good mentor, you're creating an environment for registering excellence amongst your community, amongst the people that you are guiding and the particular mentee. So the excellence is driven by your positive mindset, positive behavioral understanding, your knowledge space, your wisdom, and your traction in a particular business or business segment that can be leveraged, that can be extended, and somebody who is a mentee can actually pick the ropes from your viewpoints, your perspectives, your guidance, and your direction. And that person can recreate a slightly altered reality around the business process, around his or her entire communication and leadership process. So this is very important. So you have to maintain a very ethical standard in your interaction. You can't be guiding and telling someone to do certain things which are not fair and very judgmental, and you're not allowing that person to excel in bringing his or her own understanding in this process. You have to be very clear in your guidance. You can't be vacillating. You can't tell someone do this week, and then come next week you find out some other issues are there which may be detrimental, and you just make that person turn 360 degrees. Of course, sometimes you have to do that, but how often do you change your wind is very important. You want to go to a particular shore, you want to go to a particular destination, and in that particular journey, if you're moving about in wild swings oscillating between north and south in terms of your perspective, I don't think a very ambient environment will be developed. The environment will not be conducive. People will be hesitant to follow you. The mentees will feel confused and depressed and not knowing where the actual journey is going to head. So an element of doubt will come in. So clarity and guidance is absolutely important for leadership and mentoring to grow. And these elements of human excellence should be really looked upon carefully so that the opportunities are properly utilized to achieve the intended target. Keep an open mind. You have to be always open. You will listen to different perspective, different viewpoints. And if you are shutting people out, then these new perspective, new viewpoints, new paradigms, new mindsets will not come in. New set of behavioral understanding that are relevant to a certain context will not be properly understood by you. So you have to be careful as not to close your mind. Many people think that I have achieved a certain age limit. I'm 50 and 60, young, and they tell their young colleagues saying that, look, don't go that route. We have gone through that process. You will hit a obstacle. You will hit a barrier. Stop thinking in those terms. You are not actually being very you're not actually being proper in your guidance. What you should say, rather saying that, look, in our times, these were the issues, and this is how we actually came across obstacles. So in your time, if the environments have changed significantly, then proceed and do and bring in a miracle. However, just keep in mind, these are the pitfalls. These are the areas which can go wrong. Remember the discussion that we are having today, because you may face the same circumstances in future. So you will know what to do at that point. You will not be stressed at that point, because you have done this perspective. You have actually simulated this environment in your head. So you know what would be your exit B strategy or whatnot. So you will be confident as to address. So that should be the spirit, rather than telling them that don't go that route, because we have gone that route before. The next part is engage and explore suitable direction. You want your mentees to engage in finding different directions in doing things, exploring certain things, not just from a theoretical perspective, but from a practical perspective. Because in theory, many things look very rosy or very inappropriate, but in reality, when you go into a practical journey, that rosy thing turns very sour. And on the other hand, a fairly negative situation in theory turns out to be a productive avenue for taking direction. So you don't really know. So you have to engage and explore your mentees to take particular direction, move in particular actionable direction, so that they wet their feet and they know what to do. So this experience is very important. And the other point is offer value proposition at every single moment. You need to position your perspective, your mindset, your process of communication, and creating the right ambience and right set of opportunities should be placed, so that the people who are under your menteeship will know what value is being created. So if you can sort of give them the direction of the value proposition, then the process will be more sturdier. It will feel more stronger, because the person at the other end of the spectrum is seeing the value being developing in front of his or her own eyes. So that's how the human excellence, that's how the leadership excellence, and that's how the mentoring excellence will come about in your life, in your profession, in your business. So moving forward, I'm at the end of my session. So my $1,000,000 question is, should a mentor appear to be a friend in front of a junior co-worker, or of a junior co-worker, or show more dominant traits of a leader? Very difficult to answer. It is culturally based. If you're in Bangladesh or if you're in Canada, the mindsets will be slightly different. For example, if you're in Bangladesh, the dominant mindset is the leader would be somebody who would be a little bit removed from the junior colleagues. So the leader will come in and give direction, and the junior colleagues will follow through the instruction. Uh, but these perspectives are also in transition. These are also changing. So some cases in today's business economy, and other leadership situations, we see that juniors are also enforcing bringing some ideas to the leaders that the leaders are embracing. So these days, it is a little bit more of inclusive discussion, inclusive dialoguing, that is allowing leadership to evolve. But the dominant focus is the leader will come and guide the junior. This is probably true in certain parts of Southern America, South America, and Africa, but this may not be true in some other parts. I know in Canada and North America, there are different leadership models that have evolved, where it's more empowering business model, where the leader will be part of the game, the ecosystem. He or she will be there offering some guidance when there is a need. Otherwise, he or she will allow the juniors and colleagues and others to frame and form their own viewpoints, their mindsets, and create their own space within the enterprise and follow through with their business model in as per their understanding, with some guidance from the top leadership. But it would be more organic and maybe structured, but a, a good majority of decision making would be coming from mid-level managers as well. So these are dependent on the economy and the cultural association in which your business is involved. Even in a particular country, if you're in the cement sector, whereas if you're in the telecom sector, two mindsets can be dominant mindsets in terms of leadership and leadership planning. So it would be very difficult to say that there is a particular direction and particular optimum number that you spend 50% of time to be a friendly manager, and the other 50% you take the route of becoming the senior manager who would be enforcing on your junior. Probably it will not work. But what is important is that when there are very difficult issues, you might have to take a stern direction, stern viewpoint upon listening to your juniors. But that direction setting might be particularly influenced by the team members, but it would be your own direction, your own decision. That could be a scenario. But in common day-to-day affairs, you can be a friendly manager to your people. What I'm trying to say is that the other dominant traits is not suggesting that they're not friendly. I'm not suggesting that. But what I'm suggesting is the other dominant traits of a leader is more of a leader who's guiding people to do certain things. So you have to balance it out. I would say it depends on the circumstances, it depends on the economy and the cultural issues, and also the organization in which you have been working. If it's the culture of that organization is more having a dominant trait guiding the rest of the people, then if you want to come in and completely turn it upside down, it may not work properly. You will have to shift the the mindset slowly, but you can't be toppling it right away. So with this $1 million question, I cannot particularly say there is a absolute guidance mechanism in these two types of environment. But I would like to finish by saying that we have to be fairly sure as not to make the environment convoluted, confused, chaotic. So whichever model works, you should be following that model for the particular business ecosystem in which you are operating. So with that, I would like to end my presentation, and back to you, Edward Probir Mondal. I am Advocate Ziaur Rahman, CEO of IITM, presenting from Dhaka. Thank you very much. Edward, are you there?
Yes. Anyway, thank you very much, Advocate Ziaur Rahman. Today's session is very important, as we know that the mentoring is very much related to leadership development. And there are a lot of things that you already covered. Thank you very much. And I'd like to invite those who are learners, you can go through this material, even listen again and see if you have any feedback. So we'll highly appreciate your feedback. You can contact us or share your experience. We also learn from you, as we are we were passionate about leadership development. We've been doing for more than a year now. So we're very happy that you are always with us. And I'd like to share a few things, mentoring. As I know, I'm a certified coach. I've been also doing business consulting or mentoring. I'd like to share with you a few things of mentoring. I think I won't take much time because Professor Ziaur Rahman has already shared most of the stuff. One of the things that mentoring for good mentor, I think characteristic that I like to emphasize on is actually as a good mentor, when we are the client is looking for a mentor, one of the first or basic thing is the trust. So building trust. So looking for a trusted person. If a client or the businesses or client is sharing some confidential information, then to make sure that this information is not leaked or shared with other parties. So trusted person, one of the important thing. The other thing is always available, like whenever needed, the mentor is always available. And also one of the other thing is also mentor is knowledgeable. So that means you are looking for someone who is knowledgeable, who is willing to help and maintain confidentiality and privacy of the mentee, and maintain portfolio so that mentor can monitor the changes. So these are the basic things that the mentee is looking for. So we like to emphasize on that because this is very important. Now, the other thing is like, what are the actually components? Why we, when we, because I'm just sharing some care, I can cite some of the examples because of confidentiality, but share you some my experience while mentoring businesses or mentoring clients. So why, when we are mentoring, that means you are actually adding value. So if people are asking any help or any consultation, right, they're looking for something valuable, or like they want to add value. So one of the things, the value for mentoring is that mutually beneficial for both parties, both the mentor and mentee. So this is very important. So we are adding a value and considered by some of the most useful part of this process. And now this is also very important for opportunity for timely learning. As you know, this value for mentoring is very important. You need to understand as a mentor, you also need to show the value of mentoring, that what value you're adding to the mentee or to the organization. Now, one of the other thing that I already shared, the first thing was trust. So when you're talking about trust, so we need to build the relationship with the mentor or relationship with the mentee. And this is one-to-one. Now, this one-to-one relationship actually also develop with peers, opportunity to build relationship with members of senior leadership team. And now, what is the outcome actually? What happens next? Because at the end, what we need to actually understand, are we getting any meaning? What is the return of investment here? That is important, because at the end of the day, you are looking for something, outcome, right? Some outcome. So mentors offer suggestions for growth and development. So if you are um, if you are in a point where you are stuck or your organization is not growing, so you are providing with specific guidelines or specific programs that we can say there is a scope for growth and development, and help the class members to understand organizational decision making, offer ongoing support beyond their expectations. So I would like to also share with you a few other things, right? In this process of mentoring, what we are actually doing consciously or unconsciously, there are, because this mentorship process is actually a process. So in this process, we are developing a couple of things. So for mentee perspective, what we are doing, if we are mentee, that means we are looking for consultations, we're looking for support, what benefits we're adding into during this process. That means we are developing competence, developing means we are setting the goal setting, motivation, we get motivation, we got satisfaction, creativity, networking, opportunities, and personal change. So this is actually a transformation. We talked about, Professor Jio Raman already shared with the earlier sessions of transformational leadership. So in this mentorship process, there is a transformations going on. For the mentor's perspective here, the what we are doing is we're adding a value and also satisfaction. There is a learning experience. That means as a mentor also, we are learning from you. And peer recognitions, we are also recognizing peers and own reflection. And so when we are reflecting, then we are sharing our experience. Yes, as Advocate Joe Roman already shared some of his experience. Now, when we are practice, when mentor and mentee get together, we are in a practice and we are in a professional relationship. What happens actually during this process? And during the process, there is an improved communications engagement, consistent performance, and greater motivations, and then improve effectiveness, performance, retention, and then practice learning, improve team working, and improve communications. So when we see the combined effort, see we can have greater productivity and the return of investment thing. So there are a few things Advocate Jio Raman has already shared. I just want to share with you a few things. Um, the history, right, how it comes actually. I know that you already know that. Some of you already know that, but let me share with you. So this particular word actually is coming from Latin. This called mentor means who develops the mind, uh, and it's actually a concept of Greek mythology. Homer's epic poem Odyssey traces Greek evaluations of the concept. So this story actually has come from. Now, when we are actually in this relationship of mentor and mentee, there are questions, and I'm also learning as a mentor or as a learner. Actually, I'm also learning, the process how to ask questions, effective questions. So mentors questions, mentee questions. As a mentee, also you need to be also aware, because this is a time that you have already invested. So there's mentor. You also need to ask the right questions. Mentee, there is also asking effective question. So I won't go into that details, but in future sessions also, I would like to more emphasis of what are the different strategies that how we can be a effective mentor, and there are questions, effective questions that you can ask. For example, like when mentor is asking questions, how satisfied are you with the mentoring relationship so far? Why do you feel that? So there is actually a feeling, right? Why, right, as thing. But for the mentee perspective, how satisfied are you regarding mentoring relationship, and why? When we are asking why, then we are asking ourselves that why we are building this relationship, and this is very important. And then because this is actually a personal, one way we are developing, this is a personal development, also a professional development. The before I'll just share with you a few techniques for mentoring. There are 5 mentoring techniques most commonly used. One is the accompanying. So in accompanying techniques, what we do, this entails in being involved and taking part the learning process with the learner. So you're accompanying. So this is one of the techniques that we do as a mentoring. The other one, the technique that we use is called sewing. Mentors have an investment mindset and know that though uh, this mentee may not realize the need for the lessons they received on the immediate, they will find need for those things when the need arises. Sometimes as a teacher or professor or instructor, we also find, right, this in sewing. So you're sewing the piece. I think for traditional educational institution, the teachers, they are sewing, they're using these sewing techniques. The next one is a catalyzing. The learning can accelerate. So the learning can accelerate, escalate when change reaches a critical level of pressures. At that stage, what happens? A, a mentor actually went to the mentee into change and provoking a paradigm shift that changes their perspective. It causes change of identity and inspire reordering of value. So when we are in the process of catalyzing, you can, right, see the changes, the transformational changes here. And the other one is a showing. This is using personal example to demonstrate a skill or activity, or it can be easier for the mentee to grasp the lesson. I think if we're going to advanced level, like as Professor Gio Raman also showing some examples, or maybe our reflections, our examples, see how you do that. It's called the showing techniques that we did, and now what we can. So as a mentee, we are learning from your experience. It's called the showing techniques. The other techniques, that the last one, I guess, that will be, yeah. So I think, yeah, we already shared with you 5 techniques. Sorry, the first one is accompanying. The next one is sewing. The next, third one is catalyzing, and that, yeah, other one is showing. So these are the techniques that we actually learn during this process. Now, before I end, actually, I would like to share with you one of the things that this mentoring is a process. As I shared with you, the mentoring is the process, and as a leadership and mentoring is very much related. So as a learner, we should focus on how we can develop ourselves during this pandemic. We have a lot of challenges, and I urge you, right, see how we can use these mentoring tools and techniques so that uh, our personal developments can happen. So you can see the leadership development through effective mentoring. So leadership development can, and then Professor Gio Raman has already shared that mentoring with empathy, mentoring with human excellence. So, uh, so with that, right, I would like to conclude this session, and I would like to ask Advocate Gio Raman if you have anything to say before we end.
Thank you very much, Edward Proby Mondal. We had looked at mentoring from different angles, and we are going to be sharing some case studies in future with regards to mentoring. Both Edward Proby Mondal and I work on leadership journey and mentoring and these processes, and we do consulting work for corporations as well. So we would be coming up with some specific case-based discussions in future as we proceed on to with this program. And we are also planning to introduce a particular curriculum on the issue of leadership, mentoring, coaching, etc. in the coming days. So thank you very much. And it's a good program. I also learned from the perspective that was shared by Edward Proby Mondal. So look forward to all of you, and be good and stay away from the coronavirus. Good luck. Thank you very much.
Right. With that, I welcome you for our next session. As you know, this leadership speaker series happening every week, every Wednesday at Eastern Mountain Standard Time at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, Toronto, Ottawa in Canada at 11 p.m. And BST Dhaka time is around 9 a.m. on Thursday morning, and IST Indian Standard Time at 8:30 a.m. on Thursday morning. With that, thank you very much. Stay safe and stay blessed.